Hard work is horrible, and I'm done with it. I don't want to do it anymore. But you might say, hey, Alea, then how are you going to become the multi-bazillionaire that you aim to be without working hard? And in this episode, I'm going to tell you exactly my plan. I've had a couple of wonderful downloads and intuitive moments and spiritual connections that I'm going to share with you, dear listener, if you would like to reach your goals and not work so gosh darn hard. All right, let's go.
Welcome to the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast with Alea Harris. If you're looking for actionable ways to stand out from the crowd by standing in your power, you've come to the right place. Each week, we help you and your fellow empire-building entrepreneurs become radically authentic and tap into your unique story to attract your ideal clients. Listen in and learn how to use energy alignment techniques and tried and true marketing strategies to transform from a leader to a legend. And now, your host, Powerhouse Story Brand Certified Guide, award-winning marketer, bioenergetic business coach, and Japanese whiskey lover, Alea Harris.
A while ago, my husband played a song for me called Jericho by Iniko, Iniko, and it is one of my new favorite songs because it triggered within me the remembrance of the story of Jericho. Jericho is a story that is told in the Bible. And yes, we are actually going to go through this Bible verse today on this episode, but please do not think that you need to be a believer of any particular religion or any type of spiritual belief or practice. The story that's just so happens to come from the Bible is very illustrative of ubiquitous spiritual principles that are within all cultures, within our culture, and it's just the way that spirit works, and it illustrates it so well that I am going to get into that Bible verse. But don't be scared. No Christian proselytizing or evangelizing here, if that is not your jam. But this song, I don't think it's supposed to be a Christian song. I don't really know what it is. It's a cool song. Again, Jericho by Iniko. But the hook is what triggered me because I've been in a good way, not a trigger warning trigger, but like a trigger in a good way, because I've been dealing with burnout, talking to other people about burnout. I have dealt with burnout in my past to the point of triggering an autoimmune disease within myself and not being really able to walk very well because it was attacking my joints. And right now I'm not there. I'm not all the way back there, but my joints are starting to hurt because I have a lot going on, right? So I'm like, no, we're not doing that again. I'm not going back to, looking at canes on Amazon. Like, I am too young for all of that and have too much to do. So I'm like, there needs to be another way. And then my husband played this song for me. And the hook, which I could read to you, but I'm going to sing because, hey, why not? It says, when I move, there's an earthquake rumble. I will never, ever fall, never stumble. And I don't need to be humble. Break down walls like Jericho crumble. Break down walls like Jericho crumble. That's the last line. I was like, how did those walls of Jericho come down? Because I've read the Bible like 2-3 times cover to cover because I love finding truth in text, not necessarily from other people's illustrations of that text. And I'm like, actually, I remember Jericho falling in kind of a new and, well, new to me, right, unique way. They didn't sit there with sledgehammers and beat the thing down or throw big rocks at it. All they did was walk around it. And I'm like, that is exactly the type of effort and spiritual partnership I am looking for to be able to move forward with my life, to not be so stressed out, to not continually activate diseases within me that prevent me from reaching my goals. So in the Bible, it has a passage that's Joshua. We're going to do like Joshua 6:2 here. And I'm reading out of the Holman Study Bible for those, Holman Christian Standard Bible, my bad. Holman Christian Standard Bible for those Bible buffs out there. So picture this, setting the scene. You got the people of Israel, and they've been wandering around because of some nonsense that they did, right? And they're like walking through the desert, and they come up finally on this city of Jericho, and God's like, this your city is for you. Now, I have some questions about why God would give them a city, but, with people in it, like, wasn't it those people's city? But again, we're not here to debate Bible stuff here. We're just going to go off the fact that, okay, God gave them the city, and they want to take the city. And they're outside the city, and the city has really high fortified walls, and people can shoot arrows from it. It's a thing. Like, it's a hard city to capture, so that's why you need the walls to come down for them to capture this city. Similarly to how we all need, and I definitely need, the walls to come down around my goals, the barriers to entry, the limiting beliefs, the where do I connect with that person if I can only get my foot in the door with this person, in the door over here, over there, I could connect with that person to get to my goals. We need the walls to come down in order to reach our victory and to have our success. So God told Joshua to do a very specific thing to get these walls to come down. First of all, the walls came down because, and are going to come down, spoiler alert, the walls come down because God already had that place marked for the people of Israel. So that's the first thing that I want you to have in your mind. If you're trying to go out and do something that you know darn well you don't have no business doing, if you're trying to be something that just feels wrong, but someone's telling you you're supposed to do it, the walls ain't gonna come down. In fact, they might get stronger, right? So the first thing is to be in the right place. That's step number one. Be in the right place, doing the right thing on the right path. Already have something in your mind that that this is the direction, this is the thing that you're supposed to do. So that's step one. Then it says in Joshua 6:2, then the Lord said to Joshua, see, I have delivered Jericho into your hands along with its king and its fighting men. March around the city once with all the armed men. Do this for 6 days. So step one, you're just going to take all your people, and there's a grip of them, right? You're going to march around these walls. I'm imagining some big, huge circle, right? One time for 6 days. So they are in movement, and there's consistency, which are the next two things that will help you work less hard and get better results. You need to stay in movement. Movement will look different, right? But you have a single pointed focus. You already know you're in the right place. You have a single pointed focus, and you're going to stay in movement towards that goal. You might be running one day, walking the next, crawling the next, and maybe tiptoeing the next, but you're going to stay in movement. And it might be direct movement, like I'm going to pick up the phone and call these people. I'm going to cold call, might be indirect. We're going to work on the project that you need to work on with that opens the creativity that you need to move forward in that direction. But you need to stay in movement and consistently. You have to do something the same way. Keep going. 6 days is a long time to get all them people of Israel to walk around a wall, right? All the armed men. I can only imagine there was a lot of them, right? And I know that, in the middle, they could be like, that's not working, or this or that. I don't want to do it. It's hot. My sandals hurt, whatever it is, right? But they kept doing it for 6 days, right? Then God goes on in Joshua 6:4 to say, have 7 priests carry trumpets of ram's horns in front of the ark. And when he was talking about the ark, he was talking about the ark of the covenant, where the seat of the Holy Spirit was. Basically, you're going to walk around with the armed men, with the battle, with the go, with that Aries moon energy. I have an Aries moon, a Virgo sun, Aries moon. So right, you have that go, fight. I'm going to get it. I'm going to go for it. But you partner that with spiritual connection. He could have literally just had the priests by themselves walk around the wall, right? But he didn't. He had them carrying spirit with them. So that spirit is in partnership with you as you are moving around. Spirit can mean lots of things to you. It can mean that you have a consistent meditation practice. It could mean that you pray. It could mean that you do hypnotherapy breath work, which is like my current thing that I'm thoroughly loving. It can mean lots of things, but you're staying connected. You understand and you have a visible representation of why you're there and the true power that is helping you to bring those walls down. It's not because you're just walking around the walls. It's because you're walking around the walls with the true force of the entire universe that is conspiring for your good, walking around with you. So, you got your armed men, they walking around once for 6 days. Then you have your 7 priests carrying rams' trumpets in front of the Ark of the Covenant, right? The ram's horns that they're carrying around is also about noise, showing up, making yourself known. There's that whole thing in our culture right now, which is move in silence and then show up and be like this overnight success, right? They're like, don't talk about what you do until you do it. Yeah. So the problem with that is that you can't get help along the way. The problem with that is that it's hard to be blessed that way. So you want to walk around and make some noise. You don't have to have empty promises like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And people are like, yeah, sure, whatever. But you might say, I am trying this new thing out. I'm moving in this direction. This is what I'm doing. This is where my ups and my downs, and be loud about it and powerful about your journey. You're also sounding the ram's horn to tap into what I like to call in my spiritual practice the sound current. If we don't stay biblical with it, it's like, God spoke in the world and all of this stuff came to being. He created a sound. Sound is very important to the creative manifestation process. When you speak the words of what you want and you combine it with the feelings of what you want, that's how you begin to manifest things. So sound is very important. Okay, let's continue the verse. It's really short. It's not that long, I promise. It says that on the 7th day, so we've been doing this for 6 days. On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times with the priests blowing the trumpets. When you hear them sound a long blast on the trumpets, have the whole army give a loud shout, then the wall of the city will collapse and the army will go up, everyone straight in. So you're doing something for 6 days, you're staying consistent, then you have that last hurrah. You are increasing the vibratory power of your energy. You're increasing yourself in belief. You're increasing your manifestational power, and you're making a sound, using your voice, and you are celebrating what is going to happen. When was the last time you looked at a project or you looked at a goal and right before you hit send on that email that was going to help you get that goal, you were like, yes, this is going to happen? Or did you have the feeling of, oh man, I hope that this works. I hope they say yes. I hope this happened. I submitted this speaking engagement. I really hope that they pick me. Which energy is more powerful? Note, it is the first one. The energy of power, the energy of confidence, the energy not of faith, my friends, but the energy of knowing. I know that I know that I know because I've walked the path that is promised, doing the things I've been told to do, hearing the things that I know to do because I'm connected with spirit. I know that I know that I know that this will work, that this is for me. This, also side note, allows you to say no to things that do not work, that will not work for you. Because if you don't feel like when you press send on that email or when you show up to that thing or when you book that plane ticket or when you close the deal on that client that you want to give that mighty shout like, this is awesome, we're gonna do this. If you're like, I might give a little, woohoo, yay. If that's how you feel, don't do it. It's not for you. It will lead you into trouble. The things that we're talking about now, the things that the people of Israel did to take down Jericho that are related to spiritual principles that are across cultures and across religions, they work. So be careful of how you use your power. I went to a wedding and I saw someone who's very special to me. Her name is Angela. She really helped activate a lot of my spirituality when I was in college. I know people go to college and do keg stands and wild out and show their booty on to everybody. But I went and found Jesus. I mean, I did a little wilding out too. It was a little ratchet and a little Jesus, I'm not gonna lie. But she's the one who helped me find Jesus and helped me then start my spiritual path through Jesus and beyond, right? And she said something that was really powerful to me. When I saw her recently, she said, well, I know that anything that I start will be successful. So I have to be careful what I start. I have to be careful that it's something I actually want to start and that I believe in, because whatever I start will be successful. And the proof was in the pudding. She was not saying it in a haughty way or in a egotistical way. I mean, this woman is incredibly accomplished. And I don't know all of her ins and outs. Maybe I should ask her to be a guest on this podcast. But I do know that she follows the principles that we talked about here: being in the right place, listening to God, staying in movement, being consistent, walking around with ease. Notice they were walking around the walls. They weren't climbing them up. They weren't beating them down with their fists until they're bloody. They were just walking. They were doing what was in their power and letting God, Spirit, the universe do the rest. And that brings me to the other point, is that you're working with Spirit in partnership, knowing what your role is and what Spirit's role is. And then you're using sound and your voice. You're showing up online. You're showing up for your clients. You're showing up on your podcast. You're showing up, putting yourself in the places that you need to be in. So the more that I started working with this concept of Jericho and all of the spiritual principles to get more done, being more successful by being while being less stressed, I started thinking like, you know what, if I'm done with this, I need to be really done. So I had a visualization session with myself. I got into Spirit. I got into flow. I connected with the light. And I took all of the work that I have ever done in my life, for any job, for anything. I took it all and I bundled it up and I put it in a bag. And for some reason, this visualization, it was a nondescript brown paper bag. And I walked into the bank of the universe where the tellers were angels. And it was like old school with like gold and marble. And I walked into the bank and I said, hey, I'd like to make a deposit. And I deposited all of the work that I've ever done, ever. Because it's enough. It's enough. I'm done. I've worked really, really hard. It's enough. And I deposited it all in the bank for an exchange of endless, unceasing abundance. And I took out cash that just kept coming and gold coins that just kept coming in. As I walked out of the bank with it in my bag, it was following me out on a wave of abundance. And so then now when I think about, I'm going to go and I'm going to work hard, or I'm going to, put the baby to bed and I'm going to work another 5 hours, I say, no, I'm not. I'm going to do something that's more in line with the Jericho way of approaching life and work and entrepreneurship than the Alea Harris way. Because the Alea Harris way of working endlessly was about fear and control. I'm scared that I won't get what I want, so I'm going to work hard because that's all I can do, because it needs to be in my control. I can control how hard, how fast, how much I work. So I'm going to work as hard and fast as possible, because if I don't, I do not trust that the universe, that Spirit, that God will give me what I have been promised. And in that place, that's when my business revenue started going down. From that place, working too hard, that's when I started getting sick. From that place, that's when opportunities dried up. Because that's not how it works. It's not how this is supposed to work. That is not the way to become abundant, right? So it's about breaking a habit. You have to, if you're like me, type A+, and you're so proud of the plus because it means that you work harder than all the other type A's. Ridiculous. If that's you, you're in good company because you're listening to me, and where I'm a recovering type A pluser as well, then it's going to be about breaking habits, being aware of what you're doing and seeing, how could I do this with more ease? So I'm going to give you a couple of the ways that I do that. After I turned everything into the bank, I said, well, what is the one thing I need to do to be successful. And for me right now, I mean, there's lots of things that are on the list, right? But for me right now, it's speaking more professionally. I love it. I'm good at it. It's the lowest lift for me because it is totally within my gifting. I love every part about it. I love creating the presentations. I love tailoring them to the audience. I love delivering the presentations. I love following up. I love every single part of it. I love being on the stage, all of it. All of it, all of it. As I said, great. The first thing is I'm going to do something I love. I'm going to already start to focus on something that's not a lot of work. Yes, do I still offer bioenergetic consulting and strategic planning? And do we still have our radical rebirth retreat? Absolutely. But I'm going to focus on one thing because I realized that as a recovering type A pluser, one of the things that allowed me to work so hard was that I focus on all the things at once. So I'm not going to do that. Focus on one thing. And when I did that, I was able to streamline the activity, the movement around that one thing. So I got into spirit and I said, okay, so is this the one thing that I should be doing? And I felt a confirmation, full body, yes, bet. Next step, how do I do that? And spirit started sending me things, literally people finding me in Google. For my website, that's like, was a month old at the time. So it was not even like super connected, like has all this SEO power behind it. Nah, people just started finding me. People I hadn't worked with or spoken to in years and years and years, coming back, be like, I need to book you for this gig. You're the perfect one, right? It's all about being in the right place, being connected to spirit, and staying in movement. And then I had to show up. I created a speaking series on this podcast where I chose some of my top speaking topics and spoke them out here so I could show up. People could listen. People could get a preview. They could see who I was, how I was. I started working my network, right? And as I did that, I started getting connected to people with ease. I got into groups speaking that I've been wanting to get into speaking for years, but it had always had a block. There was a wall up, and all of a sudden the walls started coming down. I booked the highest paid speaking engagement that I have booked so far, ever in my life, with ease. All of it was coming with ease because that was the path that I had chosen. Because no matter how much I complained about it, all the work, all the hours, all of this, all of that, the hard work path was the path I chose. And I needed to consciously choose another path. Another thing that I do is I start by calling in the spirits to work with me. So I call in my spiritual guides and I ask them to speak to the spiritual guides of the people that I need to open the doors that I need to get where I want to be. So I work in spirit. I start reaching out in spirit first to corporate event planners, to DMCs, to DMOs, to bring them to me so that in spirit, I'm doing the spiritual work before I cold call, before I email. I work with a wonderful business coach named Aggie, and if you're looking for a business coach, she is definitely who I recommend because she blinks and I get a new idea that makes me a couple $1,000s. It's amazing. If you want her contact information, you can email me, Alea, A-L-E-Y-A, at aleaharris.com, because she is fabulous. Anyway, I digress. Aggie was like, well, you really should start doing some cold outreach to people that can get you on the stages you want to be on. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I've done cold outreach in the past to thousands of people, and crickets. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I don't like it. Well, I'm going to do it because she said to do it. But I reached out in spirit first. And I only got like 7. I only reached out to 7. Like one time I reached out to like 7 people in a day. And I reached out, I called, I emailed, and I reached out on LinkedIn. From that day's reach out, I had a meeting booked the next day to talk with a corporate planner about how she could platform me on her online show. I had a person that's in the industry reach out to me, that I reached out to say, yeah, I'd love to connect you with some of my corporate planner friends. And I had someone interested in booking me. Now, am I suggesting that I'm a magical cold outreacher. No, I'm just suggesting that I did what they did in Jericho. I did the work, I stayed in movement, and I brought spirit with me. I did both. I reached out in both ways. Reaching out in spirit is literally just saying, hey, I'm talking to my angels, I'm talking to my spiritual guide, that I'm asking for you to have a conversation with theirs, all in the light to bring us together. Help them see the beauty of my talent, help me be matched with the right people, bring them across my path. And then you're just aware and open to the many ways that abundance comes in. You aren't trying to control the flow. That's taking us back to how we were before, that old Alea way, right? Control and fear. And when fear comes up, because you're like, oh, the money. I remind myself of the bank. That money streaming, pouring after me. Money is here and money is always coming. It's inevitable because I already made my deposit and my withdrawal. And sometimes I go back up and visit the bank just to be like, the withdrawal's still happening? Yep, it's still happening. I see it. I see the money. I see it flowing after me. I see it surrounding me everywhere. So my job, the hardest part actually, is staying within the Jericho way as opposed to the old Alea way, and not regressing back to needing to control and staying in fear. The results I've gotten have, well, I was going to say, hey, they haven't quite doubled my income, but I was looking at my P&L and yeah, they've doubled my income. So I implore you that if you're battling with burnout, if you're dancing with that burnout monster, if you are not seeing the results, especially if like I'm doing all the things, you probably need to not be doing all the things and do one thing and stay in the vein of spirit and flow and listen and connect, and then do one or two things, the things that will get you the most energy and effort with that least amount of energy and effort expended. And that's how you will reach your goals. That's my new plan to reach my goals, and I already feel better in my body and in my bank account. If you need help trying to figure out how to connect, because that's the hardest part, if you're not used to it, I teach you how to do that in my recalibration guide. It's totally free. Go to aleaharris.com/recalibrate, aleaharris.com/recalibrate, and download the guide. Learn how to connect. You can also go to insighttimer.com/aleaharris. I have some guided visualizations there about abundance and self-worth and all this loveliness, because I'm a teacher on Insight Timer. And if you want to work with me directly, just reach out, send me an email, aleya@aleaharris.com. And I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that if you are a corporate planner, or you know a corporate planner, or a member of a DMC or a DMO, or someone who's planning an event and is looking for a keynote speaker who helps people feel great about themselves, their path, clarify their story, and connect better with other people, then we should talk. We should totally talk. Go to aleaharris.com/speaking. You can see my speaking topics. You can also go ahead and schedule a call with that big fuchsia button that says schedule a call. And I would love to speak with you. All right, that's it for this episode of the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast. My name is Alea Harris. This is the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast, and I am wishing you lots of love, light, and abundance. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast with Alea Harris. Vibing with what you hear? Leave a 5-star review to spread the love, and be sure to click subscribe. We wish you love, light, and abundance. See you next time.